Hi, welcome to this webinar event. I am your host and online Bitcoin trainer, Evander Smart. The title of this webinar is How Bitcoin Became the Greatest Investment of the 21st Century, and that is exactly what you will learn in this special online presentation. Now, this special webinar event was designed specifically for my website and for YouTube rebroadcast, so there will not be a chat during this presentation. If you do have a question, I will provide my information at the end of this webinar. I'll provide my email, my social contacts, so you can find me if you have a question or a comment. I would love to hear from you. We will get to those at the end of this webinar presentation. So, thank you again for joining me. Let me give you a little outline of what we will cover in today's presentation. Let me bring up my video here. I'm in the corner. All right, so first we will spend a few minutes finding out who I am. Who is Evander Smart? A little bit about my education and my financial background, and how I discovered Bitcoin, and why I'm qualified to teach you more about what some are calling the future of money. Also, we'll discuss the legality of using Bitcoin. Is Bitcoin a scam? Is Bitcoin safe to use? Is Bitcoin legal or illegal to use anywhere? So we will look to dispel some mainstream myths that you may have heard about in the media, and we will talk about, is it safe to use Bitcoin? Also, how you will be using digital currencies in the near future. It's not a matter of if you will be using them, it's a matter of when you will start using digital currency. So we will go over the economic landscape and how Bitcoin is really changing the future of money as we speak. Also, why Bitcoin may simply be the best currency you'll ever use, regardless of if it's digital or not. So we will go over the advantages of using Bitcoin over other currencies like debit cards, credit cards, cash, and PayPal. Also, we will look at Bitcoin as an investment. Why millions of people, now tens of millions of people around the world, are making anywhere from 35% to 100% or more on their investments in Bitcoin each and every year. So we will look at Bitcoin as an investment as well. We'll take a quick tour through Bitcoin Video University, and we'll also give you an offer that can help you get started using Bitcoin today. So, is Bitcoin a good fit? Is Bitcoin right for you? Well, Bitcoin and you are a good fit together if you need a better investment. Maybe you've invested in stocks, bonds, gold, or silver over the last few years. Maybe you haven't seen the investment returns that you thought you would. People who are investing in Bitcoin are definitely actually getting a lot more than they expected as far as returns and as far as the usability of this very special new technology. So if you're looking for a better investment, Bitcoin may be right for you. Maybe you're a more mature investor. You're looking to fund or refund your retirement account. Maybe you're in pre-retirement and you are worried if you have enough to retire on, or if you are in retirement and right now you're struggling to make ends meet. You need a better return on your investment. You need more income. So Bitcoin may be a good fit for you if you are looking for something to really spark and really drive your retirement accounts and your future income. So Bitcoin may be right for you. Maybe you just need a better currency. Maybe you're in a nation where your central bank and your government are struggling to support the national currency, and maybe you're having some issues. There are problems in Venezuela, Brazil, Argentina, Zimbabwe. In the EU, there's countries breaking off from the EU. Italy, Spain, Great Britain has seen 30-year lows on the British pound. So this may influence the currency that you use, and Bitcoin is the world's first global currency. So again, Bitcoin may be right for you. Maybe you're just a lover of new technologies. Maybe you're just the type of person who can't wait for the newest app, or the newest website, or the newest iPhone features. And maybe you're just the early adopter type of person. If you are a person who just loves new technologies, then Bitcoin is definitely right up your alley, because there is no more advanced, technologically advanced currency in the world than Bitcoin. Maybe you've spoken to your investment or your financial advisor recently, and they advise you, hey, you need a high-risk, high-yield investment. Bitcoin fits that profile to a T. So if you have a good financial advisor, they're advising you, hey, 10% of your portfolio should be in high-risk, high-yield investments. So Bitcoin may be right for you. Or maybe you're like me and you just think that a free market sound money economic system is really the way to go, and that you want to invest in that, and that your central bank in your nation or your country's government is really not handling the economy the right way. you think there are better ways out there with the free market. And again, if you are in that mindset, then Bitcoin is definitely something that you should take a look at. So hopefully you fall into one of these 6 possibilities. If not, just stick around and I'm sure you'll find something that you'll like. So let's learn a little bit about my story. Let me bring up my picture here a little bit more. Hi, I'm Evander Smart, founder of Bitcoin Video University. Let me tell you a little bit about my story. So first things first, I was born and raised in New York City. Very fortunate, very blessed to have been born and raised in one of the greatest cities in the entire world. I lived there for over 30 years, met a lot of great people, learned a lot about how the world turns. And I've always been curious about the world of money because when we were growing up, my family, we didn't have a lot of money growing up. So we grew up on welfare. So my parents, whose mother or father taught them, hey, go to school, get an education, get a good career. That's what my mother and father, being good parents, that's what they taught me. They taught my sister that. And my sister, she was a better student than me. She went on to have a scholarship, Harvard Law. And I mean, actually, all the colleges were actually searching for her. They were actually looking to recruit my sister, my sister Lyndon. And she went on to graduate from Harvard Law, and she's a very well compensated lawyer in the New York City area. I went on to work as a Wall Street banker from 2008 to 2011. And at my time at the bank, I learned really how the world turns. That's what they say, money makes the world go round. So I learned a lot about sales. Basically, being a banker is a sales job. I learned a lot about myself because I'm naturally kind of shy, naturally kind of introverted. So the first year was definitely a struggle for me. My job basically was to meet 10 new people every day. So if you're shy and introverted, meeting 10 new people every day and starting conversations with strangers can be very difficult for you. So first year I struggled, but after the second year or so, I really started to pick it up and really became an asset to the bank. So I started to enjoy my time at the bank, but the problem is I also started to learn other things about the world of money. And I started to read books like The Creature from Jekyll Island. The Creature from Jekyll Island was written about how the United States in the early 20th century developed the Federal Reserve Act, centralized banking, and the Income Tax Act. And they built it all around, again, the bankers, the financiers of the times, the Warburgs, the JP Morgans. They wanted the smaller banks to consolidate, and they wanted all these smaller customers that go to the smaller banks to move into their larger financial institutions that they supported. So what they did is they put out in the media, they had a lot of context in the mainstream media, that these smaller banks were insolvent. And they put the word out there in the media, and there was a run on the banks in 1906 and 1907 in the US. So this forced a lot of smaller banks to close as people took their money out and they put it into larger, more established institutions. So basically their scheme worked, their backdoor scheme worked, and they took that energy basically and they took it to Jekyll Island, which is an island in Georgia, and they started to craft legislation for the government to create a income tax system for them, for the federal government, a national income tax system, and a centralized banking system for the bankers. So they ended up making this legislation. They pushed it through with President Woodrow Wilson in 1913 during a Christmas recess. So basically, while all of Congress was away on Christmas recess, they pushed through this legislation that got the United States, the Federal Reserve, and income tax. And so this, again, their scheme worked. And basically, this has spread and they said at the time, this will only affect the top 1% of the country. This will stop boom and bust in the economic cycles and the stock markets and so on. And obviously, we all know how that all came down. It definitely affects more than 1% of the US population. It's actually spread throughout the world like a virus. So now pretty much every country in the world has an income tax system. They have a centralized banking system. They have some form of Federal Reserve or central bank. And again, definitely hasn't stopped any boom or bust in the economic system as well. So these were all basically lies. So this kind of dimmed my perspective on how the banking system was set up and who it's designed to help, because it really isn't designed to help the average person. So I also saw inside of the own bank that I was working with that some of the executives were members of the New York Federal Reserve, which is a direct conflict of interest, being on the board of directors. And also they acquired some other banks during some kind of shady backdoor deals. They could acquire a bank over the course of a weekend and not let the greater banking industry know, be able to bid on the assets of these banks and so on. So there's a lot of backdoor deals, just a lot of shady things that I wasn't very comfortable with, and it kind of dimmed my hopes of ethically just being a part of this organization for a career long term. So I decided to leave the bank in 2011. I wish I could say I left the bank for Bitcoin. I did leave for the concept of Bitcoin because I wanted to find something that was less manipulated, more free market, more sound money economics. And I was looking for Bitcoin because that's what Bitcoin is really all about. Bitcoin was really built in that recession at the time I was working at the bank to kind of undo all of these issues that centralized banking has created in the US and throughout the world. So I went looking for Bitcoin. I didn't find Bitcoin till a little while after I left the bank. But I'm very fortunate to have found Bitcoin. My life I feel is better since I left the bank. I definitely don't make as much money, but I've definitely found my passion, and I found definitely what works for me ethically and what I feel confident sharing with others. So that's why I'm here. Basically, my calling is to teach the world all the virtues of this sound money economic system known as Bitcoin. So regardless of what you've heard in the mainstream media, this presentation, I will show you all the benefits of using Bitcoin and why it is really starting to go viral in 2016 into 2017. And 2017 is looking to be one of the best years ever for Bitcoin. So I haven't had a 9-to-5 job since I left the bank in 2011. So what have I been doing for the last 5 years? Well, let me move my picture down here. And I have been actually in the Bitcoin community writing Bitcoin articles. So I have been paid in Bitcoin by some of the top Bitcoin news sites throughout the internet, from Bitcoin.com to CryptoCoins News to Cointelegraph to BitConnect. I've written over 500 Bitcoin articles. I've been paid every week, every 2 weeks, every month, depending on the company I work for, in Bitcoin. And I get paid in Bitcoin, don't get paid in dollars, haven't been paid in dollars since I left the bank. And I get things like direct deposit. I have a Bitcoin debit card, so you can have the latest banking features, convenience features. Just because you go to Bitcoin doesn't mean you can't get direct deposit, doesn't mean you can't have a debit card. I have all of those things. So again, Bitcoin, since I've started inside of the community, has really come a long way, and it's really progressing very nicely. And again, that's why it's attracting more and more people from the mainstream. Because once you're inside of Bitcoin and once you start using it, you're amazed at all the things you can do, how easy it is to use, and how versatile Bitcoin is. So these are some of the examples of the articles I've written. This article here on the top left, why the Bitcoin price drop really is good news. I wrote that at a time when Bitcoin was actually kind of on a downswing. It was having kind of a bad time. And this really got the community really energized. And it got over 50,000 views and over 5,000 social shares. So that really got me noticed as far as being a writer. I was just 2 months into business when I wrote that article. So I've had a lot of success writing articles. I love to educate myself. It's a good way for me to educate myself. I've written op-eds, I've written educational articles and the latest news. And again, it's really allowed me to live my passion for Bitcoin. And now I want to take that and basically turn it into the mainstream and start educating people like yourself, the people that don't know about Bitcoin, because I'm really preaching to the choir in the Bitcoin community. Now I want to expand and I want to teach more people who are outside in the regular banking system the benefits of using Bitcoin. And I've also, again, in that light, built my own Bitcoin educational website. So it's called bitcoinvideouniversity.com. Hopefully you found this video through my website. So there you can get free information on Bitcoin. Just enter your email address and you'll receive free information on the world of Bitcoin. But enough about me. Let's get to the star of the show, which is Bitcoin. If you type into Google Bitcoin white paper, you will discover a PDF file. It's about 9 pages. It's a little bit technical, but it really goes over what a Bitcoin is. And the very first sentence really encapsulates everything that a Bitcoin is, because a lot of people are confused. They wonder, what is Bitcoin? Well, I'll tell you. Right out of the white paper, it says Bitcoin is a purely peer-to-peer version of electronic cash. So this is important to understand because a lot of people like to compare Bitcoin to gold or a dot-com stock from the 90s. It is a form of electronic cash. That's very important for you to understand. Peer-to-peer version of electronic cash that would allow online payments to be sent directly from one party to another without going through a financial institution. So that is what's important. That is the niche. That is the market that Bitcoin is looking to fill. Sending peer-to-peer payments online, electronic cash without a financial institution. Very important. So another benefit of using Bitcoin, or one of the first benefits, is when you get started, it's actually fairly easy to start. It doesn't cost anything. So in my banking experience, I've opened more than my share of accounts, whether it's brokerage accounts or checking or savings or debit cards, and accounts are actually relatively difficult and cumbersome to open. You have to spend 30 to 60 minutes at a bank branch. You'll have to provide identification, you have to fill out forms, and you have to fund the account. With Bitcoin, if you've opened a Twitter account or if you open a Facebook account, you can open a Bitcoin wallet just as easily. So within 5 minutes, you should have a Bitcoin account set up if you have an internet connection and an email address, and you don't have to put any money in to start. So it is a much easier way to get started with basically becoming your own bank than actually going to a bank and using their services. Now, Bitcoin is a decentralized network just like the internet. Very important. This is really the key to Bitcoin's success and the key to Bitcoin's strength, just like it's the key to the internet's strength. If the internet was centralized, then a government or a private company could go to a central server and destroy the internet, or take over the internet, or kidnap their CEO, or what have you. A lot of people in very high places really don't like the internet. And a lot of people over the years to come really won't like Bitcoin because it is decentralized. Being decentralized means that there is no CEO, there is no central server. There is no way to shut it down, and it's designed to work globally and is designed to work equally for everyone. A lot of people like the imbalance of power. A lot of people like the status quo the way it is, where there are people on top and they are more powerful, they have more money, they have more influence, and they love that. And they like to take the ladder up and not let other people climb that ladder to success. Bitcoin is really designed to help every person become their own bank. So again, this is the value of Bitcoin being a decentralized network working on a decentralized network known as the internet. Now, overall, the amount of Bitcoins that there will ever be in the entire world will be slightly under 21 million Bitcoins. This finite supply ensures long-term value. When you can limit the amount of supply of any commodity or currency, but demand goes up, this is going to increase value over time. So I will show you how that works later on in this presentation. Bitcoin works on a public blockchain, or what some call a distributed ledger. So this public blockchain, to make it real simple, is basically, it's like a book of all the transactions in the Bitcoin history, going back to 2009. So this book, every page would be a block in this chain. So think of blocks in a chain, but it would be a little bit easier for us to understand it as a book. And all of the transactions are in this book, and every page is a new block. And there will be a new page open every 10 minutes. And all of the Bitcoin transactions are the words on each page. So again, every 10 minutes, there will be 12.5 Bitcoins mined by the Bitcoin miners. So there's basically a global competition by all of the computers of all the miners to solve a mathematical problem that takes 10 minutes to solve. So at the end of 10 minutes, the problem will be solved by one of these special computers, and the winner will be verified by all the nodes and all the systems inside of the Bitcoin network. And that computer, and the owner of that computer, will earn 12.5 Bitcoins. And the amount of reward will drop every 4 years. So in 2020, that will drop down to 6.25 Bitcoins, and so on. So over time, there'll be fewer and fewer Bitcoins mined and created, and this again will ensure long-term value of Bitcoin. Now, cash. Cash, we just went over Bitcoin as electronic cash, but regular cash is really running into a lot of problems in 2016 going into 2017. Cash is being banned and limited and restricted by the banks and the governments throughout the world. So you can definitely look that up. Places like India has seen major problems. Their two most popular banknotes were taken right out of circulation in November of 2016, and India in particular is a heavy cash-based society. About 95% of their transactions are done by cash. They don't use debit cards. They don't really use credit cards. But now, because cash is being pulled out of the system, and they say they're going to replace it with other forms of cash, people are starting to move towards Bitcoin. So this is really forcing people to look at other ways to make payments, and Bitcoin is really starting to take off in India. The EU is also having some problems. So if you're in Spain or if you're in France, you are seeing it's very difficult to get cash out of the bank. You may be able to get 1,000 units or 2,500 units worth of cash when you go and make a withdrawal from the bank. So in the future, the way things are trending, many nations may not allow you to have cash at all. Now, I'm from the United States. In the United States, when I was a banker, you could take out up to $10,000, 10,000 US dollars before an SAR, or a suspicious activity report, was generated. This came out of the Patriot Act, I guess from 2007 or something like that. And a SAR basically would treat you like a terrorist or treat you like a criminal. So if you took $10,000 out of your bank account, your transaction and your information would be put on a list and it would be sent to Washington to be evaluated. Also, if you took out less than $10,000, let's say you wanted to take out $15,000, but you didn't want to trigger an SAR, you could take out $8,000 and then $7,000. That would be put under the list of structuring, and then you would be put on a separate list, and that would be sent by regulation to Washington. Nowadays, several years later, that limit has been dropped to $5,000. So again, America is also starting to limit the access of you to your own money to cash. So they're making it harder and harder to get cash. So we are seeing this throughout the world. It is starting to really intensify in 2016. So Bitcoin may be your best and maybe your last peer-to-peer payment alternative to cash. In the future, 5-10 years from now, you may not be able to get cash in your area. So the only option to send money peer-to-peer without a middleman or without a corporation doing all your transactions for you may be Bitcoin. So this may be another reason why you may want to support Bitcoin or why you may need to support Bitcoin in the future. Now, Bitcoin in the mainstream media has died so many times, has been read its last rites, that a website has been created to chart all the times that the mainstream media has said Bitcoin is dead, Bitcoin is over. And as you can see, it's over 100 times and growing. So you can just go into Google and type in Bitcoin obituaries, and you'll find all the times the mainstream media has told you that Bitcoin is no more. You may have heard this yourself. So hopefully, through this presentation, you will discover that just because the mainstream media tells you something doesn't mean that's the fact. Hopefully, you won't need this webinar to explain that to you. Hopefully, you've already figured that out. But just because the media repeats something or just because they tell you something, and they could say it over and over again, that doesn't mean that that is the truth. Now, I'm going to show you an example of how strong Bitcoin is, regardless of what people are saying about it, what the mainstream media has told you. This is a tweet that I received from Nicholas Carey, who runs Blockchain. Blockchain is one of the world's largest Bitcoin wallet providers. So this is just one wallet provider showing you the viral nature of Bitcoin, how it's really starting to take off in 2016. Back in November of 2015, there were only about 5 million wallets inside of Blockchain, and just in that year alone, from November of 2015 to November of 2016, gained double their business, gained another 5 million wallets just from the demand to get started with Bitcoin. This is just one wallet provider. This doesn't include Coinbase.com, this doesn't include localbitcoins.com, doesn't include all of the exchanges that offer wallets, doesn't include all the hardware wallets. So there's literally tens of millions of people around the world who are now using the world of digital currency and see Bitcoin as the future of money. Now, let's get back to the main point. So, if you're online, how do you send value or how do you send cash to another person without a corporation account, without a corporation's approval or monitoring of your transaction, or without their fees for being the middleman? This is the market that Bitcoin is looking to fill, and looking to fill that niche and looking to help people who don't want to pay those fees, don't want to slow down on transaction by going through a middleman or an intermediary, don't need a corporate account in order to send value to someone online. This is what Bitcoin is designed to help you with. So, offline, really the closest thing that we have to Bitcoin is Western Union. So obviously we should all pretty much know how Western Union works. They've been in business for over 150 years. So I'm pretty sure everybody watching this video has used Western Union at one point or another. And as you can see from this image, Bitcoin does have some natural advantages over Western Union, but I'm going to go a little bit deeper into comparing Bitcoin to Western Union. And basically, Western Union, again, 150 years old, is a 19th century business model. It is working. I can't say it's not working, but my question to you is, in the 21st century, can't we do better than Western Union? Let's take a look. So, with Western Union, you have to go to their local office. You have to deal with their office hours. Maybe your local office is only open till 6 o'clock and you get off work at 5 o'clock. So it may be difficult for you to get to them before they close. You have to wait in line. You may have to wait 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes to see someone. You'll have to fill out a form. You have to give them your identification. Who knows what they're doing with your identification after you leave? I've seen them. They make copies of your identification. What are they doing with my identification? You'll also have to pay a fee. It could be $5, could be $50. Depends on how much you're sending and where you're sending money to. And you'll have to wait basically an hour or two for this transaction to seed and for it to be available on the other end. And the receiver of this money will have to do all of these things as well, except pay the fee. So they'll have to stand in line, they'll have to fill out the form, they'll have to give identification, and so on. So it's a working system. I can't say it's not working. My question to you is, can we do better than that? Let's look at how Bitcoin would do the same thing. With Bitcoin, you can send money from your smartphone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You don't have to deal with office hours. You don't have to wait in line. You don't have to fill out any forms. You don't have to give anyone your identification that you don't know. The fees that you pay would be cents compared to dollars. The Bitcoins will be received in seconds, not hours. They'd be confirmed in minutes, and there's no limits. So maybe the person that you're sending money to with Western Union, maybe they're a half hour away from Western Union. Maybe they're 20 miles away from Western Union. It may not be convenient for both of you to use Western Union. With Bitcoin, you can send it right to their smartphone wallet or right to their desktop. All they need is a Bitcoin wallet and they're ready to go. So you tell me which system you think is better here in the 21st century for you and I. Now, let's go into Bitcoin's legality. Is Bitcoin a scam? Is Bitcoin safe to use? Is Bitcoin legal to use? People don't ask this question as much as they used to, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, but they still ask this question. So let me get this out of the way right up front. First things first that you need to understand is there is no nation or known location where Bitcoin is illegal to use. So Russia thought about making it illegal. They kind of wanted to make it illegal back in 2015, but they could not do it because they don't really control the internet very well. So they were having problems in 2015 with the Russian ruble. The Russian ruble was going through a lot of problems. There were a lot of economic sanctions against Russia, and it was really diminishing the value of their currency. So they lost about 50% of their currency's value in a year, and they didn't want the added competition that a digital global currency like Bitcoin would provide online. So they wanted to ban Bitcoin because they thought they could control it, but they really can't control Bitcoin. Now again, very important to understand that Bitcoin is basically an application online. It's basically an app. So it's not a whole lot different in concept than Messenger or Facebook or Twitter. It's basically just a financial app. But they figured out that they could not really control Bitcoin. And they also like Bitcoin's blockchain technology. So they've kind of made their peace that they can't really stop Bitcoin. So people in Russia, yes, they are buying Bitcoin and they really like Bitcoin. So it's really working out. But again, there's no known location where it's illegal to use Bitcoin. The only places you're going to have problems using Bitcoin is places where you're going to have problems using the internet. Because again, it's basically an internet application. So if you're having problems using the internet, you may have problems using Bitcoin, but with all the hotspots and Wi-Fi and satellites, pretty much anywhere on the planet, you can get an internet connection so you can get Bitcoin. Now here are a few ways for you to know that Bitcoin is a legitimate, safe, online payment protocol for you to use. First things first, number one, Bitcoin is a public, open source online application. What do I mean by that? Well, public, that Bitcoin blockchain is a public blockchain. So anyone can actually see the transactions. You can go to blockchain.info and see real-time live Bitcoin transactions. So you can see all these Bitcoins flying around and you see all these public keys. These codes here, these are known as public keys. So a public key is like an email address. Again, Bitcoin is kind of modeled after how the internet works. So with the internet, if you want to send someone an email, you give them your email address and they can send you an email. With Bitcoin, you give someone your public key and they can send you Bitcoin. Same concept. It's really not that complicated. So again, you'll see all these real-time transactions of Bitcoin on the public blockchain. Open source. Open source meaning there's a code on the protocol, how it's built, and if you're a coder or a developer or an IT professional, you can look at the open source code. You can see how it's structured. You can see that it is legitimate. And actually, you can help improve the protocol. So you can make a BIP, or a Bitcoin improvement proposal. and you can help make Bitcoin faster, stronger, more secure. So that's what people have been doing over the last 8 years. So if you were running some type of scam, if Bitcoin were some type of scam, why would you structure it this way where you can see every transaction and you would make all of the code open source? That doesn't make sense. That's not how scams are structured. If you were running a scam, you would hide all of these things and you would make it a closed network or a closed loop. So again, Bitcoin is a public open source network where all these things can be discovered. So where would the scam be exactly? So Bitcoin is about as much of a scam as sending an email. Only you're sending Bitcoins instead of information. So the first way you know that Bitcoin is not a scam is its level of transparency. Bitcoin is extremely transparent. Scams are not so much. Now the next way you know that Bitcoin is not a scam is who would Bitcoin be scamming exactly? The people, the early adopters of Bitcoin, are the coders, the developers, the IT professionals, the computer nerds, the geeks, some of the smartest people online, really. So why would you try and scam people who are not necessarily wealthy, but they're as smart as you or smarter than you? Again, that's not how scams work. Scams generally prey on your ignorance. These are not ignorant people who use Bitcoin. These are some of the smartest people in economics, finance, computer technologies, and so on. So again, if Bitcoin were a scam, these people, these coders, these developers, these IT professionals, they would have looked at the open source code, figured out after 8 days that this is not legitimate, this can't work, and it wouldn't have gotten off the ground. So it wouldn't have lasted 8 days, much less 8 years and running. Third way you know Bitcoin is not a scam is if Bitcoin were a scam, would some of the world's largest corporations and brands risk their businesses accepting Bitcoin? Or would they even be associated with its technology? As you can see, some of the world's largest Fortune 500 companies and corporations and brands are accepting Bitcoin using its technology as we speak. So again, if there was a problem with Bitcoin being legal or safe or some type of scam, would these companies and corporations be associated at all with Bitcoin? Of course they would. So again, these are all votes of confidence. These are just the early adopters. You go back 20 years, there were corporations then that were the first ones to get websites on the internet. We're doing the same thing all over again, except we're doing it with money instead of information. So some people call Bitcoin the internet of money because of the similarities in how things have progressed in the next generation compared to the internet the last generation ago. So, pop quiz. Let me give you a question. One question here. What is the biggest Bitcoin transaction ever done on the Bitcoin blockchain? Was it a $25 million transaction in Bitcoin? Was it $150 million? Was it $9.7 million? Was it $220 million? So we'll have the answer for you in a few minutes. Now, why should you care about Bitcoin? Why should you care about digital currencies? Why should you care about any of this new technology that Bitcoin brings to the marketplace? I'll tell you why. Because these new technologies will be a big part of your future, whether you know it or not. As I just went over, the corporations that you use, the banks that you use, even the nation that you live in. Right now, they are studying Bitcoin, they are studying its blockchain technology, and they are working on creating their own versions of Bitcoin. They're creating their own digital currencies. They're going to use Bitcoin's technology. It's open source. Anybody can use it. It's not copyrighted or patented or anything like that. They're going to use this technology and they're going to apply it to their business models. So again, these are more votes of confidence. All it is just new technology. So I'm going to show you some examples of Bitcoin and the world of digital currency and blockchain technology entering the mainstream as we speak. Let's go to Australia. Australia is a very interesting country, very large country, but only about 25 million people live in Australia. But they love Bitcoin. They trade Bitcoins all the time. It is really a new hotbed of industry and business in Australia, in the land down under. There's so many Bitcoins being traded in Australia. If you spread out all those Bitcoins to all the people of Australia, they'd all have about $10 worth of Bitcoin. So that's how big the business is for Bitcoin in Australia. And this came up at the Payment Innovation Conference in Sydney in 2016. The head of the central bank, the RBA, he was there and he was asked about Bitcoin and its blockchain technology. And he had to admit, hey, one day Australia may take the baton from Bitcoin and create their own digital Australian dollar. So he said, Bitcoin has stimulated interest in the potential offered by distributed ledgers or blockchains, extending to the possibility of central bank issued digital currencies. In other words, Australia is definitely working on creating their own national blockchain and their own national digital currency, or again, their own version of Bitcoin. So again, vote of confidence. So let's go to the United States. IBM, obviously one of the world's largest, best-known computer corporations. They have plenty of lawyers, coders, developers, IT professionals. They've looked at Bitcoin and its blockchain technology, and they're so impressed, they've created their own website. You can go to ibm.com/blockchain, and they'll help build a blockchain for your business. So again, if Bitcoin were any type of problem, would IBM be associated with Bitcoin? Would they be using its technology? IBM, going back to 2015, this article is from Reuters. They have sat down and spoken with nations, with central banks, about creating national digital currencies using Bitcoin's technology. They have sat down with the United States Federal Reserve to talk about making US dollars into a national digital currency system. So, some quotes from the article. When someone wants to transact in the national digital currency system, instead of trying to acquire Bitcoins, you simply say, here are some US dollars. So it's sort of Bitcoin without the Bitcoin. So again, all they're doing is taking Bitcoin's technology and applying it to a national currency system based on the US dollar. So just copying it, basically. We are at a tipping point right now. It's making a lot more sense for some type of digital cash in the system. Remember we said, Bitcoin is electronic cash. That not only saves our government money, printing money, security of money, but it's also a lot more convenient and secure for individuals to use. So again, these are all complements to Bitcoin's digital currency. They're saying it's less expensive to create. You don't have to create a digital currency. You have to print it out. You don't have to secure it with trucks and guns and buildings and all these things. And it's a lot more convenient and a lot more secure for individuals to use. So they are complementing Bitcoin's blockchain technology and Bitcoin's digital currency, and they're talking about applying that to national currencies. So Australia, United States. Now these are potential problems for you. So there are some problems with this little plan to go to national digital currency systems. First problem is it's a closed loop or a closed network. What does that mean? Well, again, Bitcoin's open source. So that means if you're a coder or developer, you can help improve Bitcoin and help it serve your needs or the greater good. But if it's closed loop, then it's only going to be changed or updated by the people who created it, and it's probably only going to serve their needs, not necessarily your needs. Also, you cannot divest yourself from a national digital currency system. What do I mean by that? Well, let's say you had $1 million in the bank. You could walk into the bank. After a time, you could take out that $1 million and take it to another bank or take it to another country. With a national digital currency, obviously you can't walk into the bank and walk out with national digital currency. Wouldn't work that way. It's a closed loop, and you are effectively captured in their national system. So that is the idea. That's why the banks are very interested in that, because then you cannot do a run on the bank. You cannot walk in and take your money out of the bank and go to another bank. It really hurts competition. So it really protects the banks from competition. So this is really, it really helped them out. It really be great for them. It'd be great for the government as well. How will we help the government? They can track any and all transactions that you make. So the location when you made a transaction, the amount of the transaction, the time you made it. They can even project when you will make your next transaction. So this is great for surveillance as well. So they can put all your information, all your transactions onto a central server somewhere. And guess what? That central server could be hacked by a hacker, or it could be used for surveillance by the government. So either way, you lose, they win. Again, all of your funds will be put onto their digital matrix. So if they decide to start automatically debiting or taxing your account, a couple $100 here, $100 there, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to leave the country? So again, this creates real issues for the people if they go to a national digital currency system and you choose to join that system. So again, this will help the banks and the government, you maybe not so much. Now with Bitcoin, you have total control of your Bitcoins at all times. So all Bitcoin transactions are push transactions, meaning you have to send them out yourself. No one can go into your wallet and start taking out Bitcoins, assuming you set up your wallet correctly and you are in control of the public and private keys. Now, pop quiz question number 2. How much was one Bitcoin worth 5 years ago? We're talking about 2011. How much was a Bitcoin worth in 2011? Was a Bitcoin worth $123? Was a Bitcoin worth $304? Was a Bitcoin worth $2.99? Or was a Bitcoin worth $45? We'll have the answer for you in a few minutes. The answer to the first question, what was the largest Bitcoin transaction ever? This was done in 2013. It was for $150 million worth of Bitcoin. Now, what's important to understand about this transaction is, just like all the other transactions, it was handled in seconds. It was completed in seconds. It was verified in a blockchain in a matter of minutes, and it only cost maybe dollars, a few dollars to do. So think about that. Imagine you had $150 million in your bank, and you went to the bank and maybe, I don't know, you wanted to buy an island or something. And do you think you could walk into your bank and take $150 million out of your bank and send it to another bank or send it to an individual? Do you think you could do that in a few seconds? Do you think it would be confirmed to reach its destination in a few minutes? Do you think it would only cost you a few dollars to do? I've been in the banking system, so I know that's definitely not how it would work. There would be a lot of interrogation. It would probably take pretty much all day to do and to confirm. You really wouldn't enjoy the experience at all. But again, that's another benefit of using Bitcoin. You are in control. There are no limits. There are no middlemen. So you don't have to be interrogated by people at the bank. Your transaction will not be sent to government and so on and so forth. You are in control of your financial future. So let's get back to how these new Bitcoin technologies are changing the world we live in. Let's go to China. Did you know that China has a social security system? Apparently the largest social security system in the world. I didn't know that China had a social security system until I discovered this working in the Bitcoin industry. And apparently they love the blockchain technology so much, they've looked at it with their lawyers, their coders, their developers, their IT professionals. They've looked at it for months, maybe even years, and they're so impressed with its strength, its security, how robust it is, how it has helped Bitcoin become this global force, that they're going to put their entire social security system on a blockchain. So again, if that's not a compliment, if that is not a seal of approval, I don't know what is. Also, China has had a digital currency seminar talking about creating a national digital currency. Maybe you see a trend here. So this is in 2016. I got this information from their website, the People's Bank of China's website. And they sat down with Citibank and Deloitte banking interest to discuss the frameworks required for the issuance of a national digital currency. So the People's Bank of China said the digital currency team should research various applications for digital currency to help the central bank introduce a digital currency as soon as possible. Very important. Most important part, as soon as possible. Why are they creating a digital currency as soon as possible? They will create a digital currency long before Australia or the United States creates a digital currency. Why will they do that? Well, I've been following the markets over the last few years. This is the problem with China. Go back 5-6 years, China was the hottest market in the world. They were building all these buildings, they're building cities. Apple and all these car makers were moving their cars in and fund this middle class, and they're going to create all this business. And their GDP growth every year was 10%, 12%. Every year is double-digit GDP growth. Now, over the last few years, markets cooled down. It's not necessarily in a recession, but it's definitely on the downswing. So people are starting to move their companies out of China into Western markets. They're going into places that have a future, places that are on the upswing. They're being smart investors. That's what smart businessmen do. So they're moving their money out of China into other nations. This is called capital flight. So capital flight is when you take your money out of one nation and you go internationally and invest it in other countries. Obviously, the People's Bank of China doesn't like that. The Chinese government, which owns about 2/3 of the People's Bank of China, they don't like that. So how will they stop that? Create a national digital currency system. Create a closed loop network where you can't go to the bank and take your money out. So again, you see how this can work for government, how it can work for a central bank. But for you, if you're in a fading market, if you're in a down market, you want to move your money into something with a growth potential, with a future, it's not going to work for you so much because you will be trapped in their national digital currency system. So again, you see a trend here. You see who it helps and who it hurts. So keep that in mind. Let's look at corporations. Let's look at PayPal. PayPal is currently running Bitcoin tests through their subsidiary, Braintree. So before they introduce Bitcoin to PayPal, they're testing it out on Braintree. They've also patented their own Bitcoin smartphone wallets. So I got these images from the Patent Office website in Washington. They sent like a dozen mock-ups of what this Bitcoin wallet will do for smartphones. And this is going back to 2015. So PayPal is very interested in making an alliance with Bitcoin because they don't want to be Blockbuster to Bitcoin's Netflix. So I've shown you all this information about the corporations, the brands, the nations, the governments that are using Bitcoin. They're using its technology. They're creating their own versions of Bitcoin. So if all of these different powers are really going to this digital currency age that Bitcoin has created, shouldn't you? The real question is, will you use their version of Bitcoin or will you use the original version of Bitcoin? So hopefully in the course of this presentation you will understand there's going to be two versions of digital currency. Which one you use in the future, you will use one. Which one you use in the future may be very important to your future economic health. So one of the main things you should take away from this webinar, if you take away nothing else, is Bitcoin is the financial version of the internet. Same concept. It is basically the internet, but a financial version of it. We've seen this movie before with the internet itself. So Bitcoin in 2016 is about where the internet was 20 years ago. I'll give you an example. What is the internet? On the Today Show, Katie Couric, Brian Gumbel, they were on the Today Show and the producers put up this address, this email address, and they didn't know what an email address was. They didn't know what a website was. They didn't know what the internet was. So they said, what is internet? So that's where we've been with the internet 20 years ago, and you see how powerful, how influential, how valuable the internet has become over the next 20 years. Bitcoin is actually exceeding that growth curve because it has the internet's help. When the internet came out, there wasn't anything to help the internet. You had to physically build all these fiber optic cables under the oceans and so on. Now Bitcoin can run on top of the internet and grow even faster. So think about where the internet has been over the last 20 years, how fast it's grown, how powerful it's become. And again, think about now how Bitcoin will just ride on top of that growth curve and do the same thing for the world of money. That's what you should think about. That's how you should think about Bitcoin and where you want to be 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now. So it's best for you to think of Bitcoin as the internet of money. Bitcoin does the same thing for money that the internet did for information 20 years ago, with one key difference. The difference is 20 years ago, you couldn't buy shares of the internet. Today, you can buy shares of the internet of money, which is Bitcoin. Very big distinction. So you should think about that. Now, Bitcoin takes the economic power that was once reserved for national currencies and for the centralized banking system and gives you the power to be your own bank. And your bank can fit in the palm of your hand. So again, like the internet, Bitcoin doesn't care if you use 100 Bitcoins or 100th of a Bitcoin. You'll be treated the same way. Just like with the internet, you can create a video, Amazon can create a video, and more people can go to your video. You can monetize your video. The internet does not discriminate because you're not a Fortune 500 company. You can be an individual and you can be as powerful as you want to be on the internet. You can go viral. So again, Bitcoin treats you the same way, whether you're spending millions of dollars on Bitcoin or just a few dollars. So if you're 8 years old or 80 years old, doesn't matter. If you're a citizen or if you have identification, it doesn't matter. You can use Bitcoin to transmit value online, anywhere, anytime, in a matter of minutes for hardly a fee. So this is an unprecedented level of economic power that you can hold in the palm of your hand. Now, let's compare Bitcoin to cash. Let's say you want to use cash. Let's say you're using US dollars. So you go to an ATM and you take out $100. You're going to have to pay the ATM fee of $4, $5, depending on the card you use or where you are. Maybe you have to pay a fee on the card. Maybe you're traveling internationally. You may have to pay another $3, another $4. So you're going to have to pay a fee. It costs money to use cash these days. Now let's look at how Bitcoin works. With Bitcoins, if you want to receive Bitcoins instead of dollars, it doesn't cost anything to receive Bitcoins. Now if you want to send Bitcoin or you want to spend Bitcoin, you will have to pay a miner's fee. You know how much that fee is? 10 cents, 15 cents, 20 cents. And that's it. There's no monthly fees. There's no overdraft. There's no roaming charges. There's no interest. That's it. So it costs nothing to get Bitcoins, and it costs a few cents to spend Bitcoins. So again, you tell me which system you think is a little bit better for the 21st century. One system is really a 20th century source of finance and economics, and one is a 21st century version, and it's really trying to improve on the previous version. Now let's look at debit and credit card transactions. Did you know that any debit or credit card transaction that you did last year could be undone by your card provider this year? Your transactions can be undone up to 540 days into the future. A lot of people don't know that. Your transactions really don't reconcile on all sides. They're not really kind of official for 1 to 7 days. They can take a few hours. They can take a few days to go through. And you are going to have to pay a 1.5% to 3% cost of doing business fee for these transactions. Doing a swipe on your debit card, that's not free. The merchant is going to have to pay a fee to their merchant account provider for that, and guess who they're going to pass that cost on to? They're going to build that into the cost of the product or service that you're doing. So that's not free. They're going to have to pay that, and do you really think the owner is going to pay that? They're going to pass that on to you one way or another. And look at PayPal. PayPal is basically the online version of debit and credit cards. They're pretty much the same idea. They're the central bank. It's basically a corporation. They work as a central bank. And it's basically an online version of debit and credit cards. I have a PayPal account. You probably have a PayPal account. How many times has this happened to you? You get an email confirmation from PayPal, and they say, hey, that transaction you did, it just went through. So you're like, what transaction? I don't remember doing a transaction. You got to think about it. Like, oh, that transaction from 5 days ago. That's what they're talking about. This is, again, it takes several hours to several days for transactions to go through PayPal, just like debit and credit cards. So it's the exact same thing, it's just you're doing it online. Plus, PayPal likes to freeze people's accounts if they just don't like what they're doing for whatever reason, terms of service. And they can freeze your account and freeze the funds in your account, and they can do that for up to 6 months. So again, they act like basically a central bank. And again, this is 20-year-old technology. Again, it could take them several days to do all of these transactions. And again, it's a lot slower than Bitcoin. Let's look at how Bitcoin does the same thing. With Bitcoin, the vast majority of all transactions are totally cleared through the blockchain within 10 minutes. Worst case scenario, let's say the blockchain's a little busy right now. Let's say it's a peak time and you can't get it through in 10 minutes. You may have to wait 20 minutes or 30 minutes. You can adjust your settings, pay a little higher fee, send an extra 2 or 3 cents through on your transaction, and you'll get some kind of VIP service. And the miners will take your transaction over a transaction that costs less to do. So maybe you sent in 18 cents and somebody else is paying 13 cents for their transaction. Your transaction will become a priority mail type of service, and you'll get your transaction through just like that. And there's no central bank or central processor that can freeze your Bitcoin wallet. So again, there is no central authority. You are in charge of your Bitcoin. Now let's get back to that quiz question. How much was one Bitcoin worth 5 years ago in 2011? Answer is, Bitcoins were trading for less than $3. So let's say you saw that 5 years ago. Let's say you were smarter than me and you were there and you saw it and say, hey, I've heard about this Bitcoin and I see it trade for less than $3. I'll treat it like a penny stock. I'm going to buy and invest in some Bitcoin. So I'm going to buy 1,000 Bitcoin. I got $3,000. I got nothing to do with. I'll just buy 1,000 Bitcoin. How much would those 1,000 Bitcoins be worth right now, today? Let's take a look at Bitcoin as an investment. So we've looked at Bitcoin legality, we've looked at my story, we've looked at all the brands and nations and banks that are creating their own versions of Bitcoin. We looked at Bitcoin as a currency. Now let's look at Bitcoin as an investment. Let's compare Bitcoin to some of the world's most popular, most loved, most recommended investments. Let's compare Bitcoin to gold and silver. So what we're going to do is we're going to take all 3 investments, we'll take them back to January 1st of 2016. And we'll compare their values over the year and see which one has done better for their owners, gold, silver, or Bitcoin. So let's start off with everyone's most favored, most recommended investment, which is gold. Now, I got this information from goldprice.org. So you can go to goldprice.org. It's a free website. You can get this graph and get this information just like I did. So you have to take my word for it. But this is a chart, last year's worth of values for gold. So January 1st of 2016, gold was trading for about 1,060 US dollars. And as you can see, it's been an up and down year for gold. As of December 23rd, 2016, when I'm making this video, gold is trading for 1,133 US dollars. So gold is up for the year. Could have been better, I guess, but gold has made money this year. So it's actually been better than previous years, as I'll go over. Let's look at silver. You get the same information from goldprice.org. They'll provide you with silver prices as well. Silver at the start of 2016 was trading for less than 14 US dollars. And as of the making of this video, almost the end of the year, December 23rd, is trading for almost 16 US dollars. So again, it's been an up and down year for silver, but it's been up and it's done better than gold. So silver investors are doing better than gold this year. Let's look at Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin values you can get from bitcoinaverage.com. So at the start of 2016, sorry, I have the wrong chart here, but this is really the start of 2016 here. This is 400 and this is 500. Bitcoin was trading for about 435 US dollars. And as of December 23rd, it is trading for over 900 US dollars. So which investment did the best for its owners? Well, gold's up almost 7%, which is actually pretty good if you look at gold's history. So 7% is a decent return. Silver, twice as nice. Silver is up almost 14%. So if you make 14% on your money as an investor every year, you're doing pretty well. You're a pretty smart investor. But as you can see, Bitcoin dominated gold and silver in 2016 as far as up to December 23rd, up over 100%. So people who invested in Bitcoin at the start of the year doubled or more than doubled their money in 2016. Now you may be thinking, all right, maybe Bitcoin had a good year. You know, this is not normally how it goes. Gold and silver usually do better, and Bitcoin usually doesn't do that well. You're kind of right. Bitcoin usually doesn't double in value every year, but gold and silver actually are usually down. You look over the last 5 years, gold and silver have been down. You go back to 2011, when I left the bank, gold was trading for $1,800. Silver was trading for $40. 2015, gold was down over 10%. Silver was down almost 12%, but Bitcoin was the world's best performing currency, up over 35%. So this is for the entire year of 2015. So Bitcoin is not just a one-hit wonder. Oh no, it's not. So let's go to the answer to that question. Remember we bought 1,000 Bitcoins back in 2011 for less than $3? So you put $3,000 into Bitcoin in 2011, how much would you have right now? Well, you'd have, now that it's trading over $900, you'd have actually over $900,000 worth of value in US dollars. So you had a 5-year investment go from $3,000 or less than $3,000 to over $900,000. So compare that to your bank's certificate of deposit or your bank's CD. I think you'll see more value in investing in Bitcoin. So I think Bitcoin has proven itself to be a very sound investment. Now, also in the line with the investment, you can look at Bitcoin's history, and the mainstream media has had to talk about how Bitcoin has really proven itself to be an economic safe haven throughout the world. So this is how I found out about Bitcoin. I found out about Bitcoin in the spring of 2013. Spring of 2013, there was an economic downturn in the island nation of Cyprus. Cyprus is an island nation in the Mediterranean Sea in Europe, and they had the world's first economic bail-in. A bail-in is when the bank needs to recapitalize itself, and they basically take the money out of the depositors' accounts. So this spurred a lot of problems. A lot of people wanted to protect their wealth, so they started throwing their money into Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin at that time was really kind of small potatoes. People didn't really know a lot about Bitcoin. It was worth about $20, $25 at that time. But over those few weeks during this economic issue, Bitcoin went from $20 to $25 to over $200 in value. And it was able to keep a lot of that value. So people use Bitcoin as an economic safe haven, and this is how the world, a lot of people in the world got introduced to Bitcoin back in 2013. This was kind of its coming out party. So Bitcoin has done this over and over again over the years. You go to 2015, the summer of 2015, Brexit, Greece had the same economic downturn. So people started to put their money into Bitcoin. Bitcoin values take off. Brexit, Great Britain leaving the EU. British pounds have lost a ton of value this year, dropped to 30-year lows. So people started to protect their wealth. They put their money into Bitcoin. Bitcoin values take off. Here, Bloomberg shows you with this graph the election of Donald Trump in the US. During election night, just during that night, just in a few hours, when people started to discover, hey, Hillary Clinton's not going to win, Donald Trump's going to win. What's going to happen to my investments in the morning? What's going to happen to the markets? I don't know. Let's put our money into Bitcoin, protect it. Bitcoin values take off over $30 in a matter of a few hours. So this has happened time and time again. Bitcoin has proven itself. Bitcoin over its lifespan has proven two things. First thing it has proven is Bitcoin is not going to die. You can wish it into the cornfields all you want. If you're the mainstream media, Bitcoin's not going anywhere. So Bitcoin will always be here. It's just a piece of technology. Just like the internet is not going anywhere, Bitcoin's not going anywhere. And the second thing it has proven is that it is a safe place to put your money. Smart investors during economic downturns or during economic turmoil put their money into Bitcoin. They don't put their money into gold or silver. You can look at the same time spans. People don't put their money into gold and silver when there's an economic downturn. They put their money into Bitcoin because they know they'll be able to get it out and actually make a profit on the back end. So, I think I've shown you that Bitcoin is not a scam. I think I've shown you why you should care about Bitcoin in the world of digital currencies that are coming to you in the future. Why you should maybe use Bitcoin as your preferred personal currency and why Bitcoin is a great investment. And please remember the digital currency of Bitcoin, this is just the first application. We're just getting started with Bitcoin. So this is not all that a Bitcoin will become. Again, compared to the internet. 20 years ago, you may have started using the internet as an email service. You probably started using email. That was probably your first application of the internet. Bitcoin's first application is as a digital currency. So think of this as an introduction. Think of this as chapter 1 of a book that will continue to change the world of money throughout the future and throughout the 21st century. So imagine if you had bought into Nike back in 1974. What if you owned a few shares of Apple Computers from back in 1984? What if you could go back in time and buy shares of the internet back in 1994? Or if you knew that Facebook in 2004 would go public in 2012 for a $1 billion IPO. What do all of these have in common? They were all incredible investment opportunities. How many of these investment opportunities did you take advantage of? How many of them did you miss out on? Now, every 10 years or so, it seems, a very special investment opportunity comes around. Are you really going to miss the next big thing, the next investment opportunity? I think I've been able to show you that Bitcoin is probably this decade's investment opportunity. If you are the type of person who knows a good thing when you see it, I can help you get started using Bitcoin quickly and easily. You see, I do exclusive Bitcoin user training through my website, Bitcoin Video University. Now, some people want to learn about a new subject or topic, maybe like Bitcoin. They like to read the book on a new subject, while others prefer to watch the movie. Well, if you're someone who loves a good movie, I have some very special movies for you. Presenting the 42-video Bitcoin Video University Pro Collection. Now, with Bitcoin Video University's Pro Collection, we have created the ultimate in Bitcoin educational training, brand new for 2017. So if you need an answer on why, how, or where to start using Bitcoin, if you're a new user, you now have the ultimate online resource for all of your Bitcoin user needs. Now, inside of the Pro Collection, you'll find exclusive content, exclusive tips, and exclusive intel that only the most experienced members of the Bitcoin community use every day. You'll discover things like Bitcoin debit cards, which one to get and why. Bitcoin debit cards are kind of new. Again, when I started with Bitcoin, there really was only like one debit card. Now there are several, there are like dozens of debit cards. So now you need to know, depending on where you are in the world, which debit card to use. You can't use debit cards for Bitcoin in every country. Some Bitcoin debit cards are locked out of certain countries. So you need to know which debit card to use where you are. Do you want to send in documentation to get a debit card or go no doc? And what kind of limits do you want to have on your card? Some cards are very limited. Some cards really basically have no limits. You can buy a new car with your Bitcoin debit card. So do not get a Bitcoin debit card until you watch this video. How to get a Bitcoin without identification, without a smartphone, or without the internet. So again, this may depend on where you are in the world, but there are many ways to get a Bitcoin. So you may not have some of these natural advantages to get a Bitcoin. So we'll go over some of the other ways that you can get a Bitcoin. Also, how Bitcoin owners are saving 15% or more on any Amazon.com purchase. Now, a lot of people don't know that you can use Bitcoin on Amazon. So this video will show you some hacks, some life hacks, so you can use your Bitcoin on one of the world's largest, most popular online retailers, and how Bitcoin owners are saving up to 45% on any Amazon purchase. So this isn't just on certain things. You can buy anything on Amazon, save anywhere from 15 to 45%. So I'll show you how to do that in this video. 5 reasons why Bitcoin values must increase in the future. So some people are really super cynical. They think, oh, well, I'm going to get into Bitcoin and then it's going to lose all its value and I'm going to lose all my money. No, that's not how it's going to work. Full disclosure, I made this video almost a year ago. And since I made this video, I discovered another 5 reasons why Bitcoin values must increase in 2017 and beyond. So inside the Pro Collection, there are 10 reasons why Bitcoin values must increase in 2017 and beyond. The biggest problem with Bitcoin. This is probably one of the most important videos inside the Pro Collection. So many people have been affected by this issue. It is a very simple issue to avoid. But again, if you are not experienced, if you are new to Bitcoin, you're probably going to run right into this problem. It's kind of set up for you if you're a new user, and you'll run right into it. It's like a pothole, but you don't see it because you're kind of new and you're thinking about all these other things. But if you're a new user, do not buy Bitcoin until you watch this video. Very simple problem to avoid, but I've seen this problem literally take your entire Bitcoin. You can spend 10, 20, $100,000 in Bitcoin and you're making money and you're seeing all these returns and you're so happy, and then all your Bitcoins are gone. And you're like, where'd my Bitcoins go? This is what happens to new users who don't understand the biggest problem with Bitcoin. So do not buy Bitcoins until you watch this big video, the biggest problem with Bitcoin. Shopping with Bitcoin versus shopping with debit cards. Show you the advantages and disadvantages of using both. Also, maybe your favorite retailer doesn't accept Bitcoin. Well, I'll show you a hack where you can actually use Bitcoin on virtually any online website. Virtually any online website, you can shop with Bitcoin. So I'll show you how to do that inside of this special video, where you can use Bitcoins. So again, we'll go over all the brands and corporations that are accepting Bitcoin directly. The best way to get your hands on some Bitcoin. Maybe you don't want to spend $900 to buy a Bitcoin. There are other ways to get Bitcoin. So again, we'll go over more ways to get Bitcoins. Watch me do a transaction for you live. So you'll be over my shoulder. You'll watch me do an online Bitcoin transaction. You watch me buy something with Bitcoin online. A lot of people think that because it's a new digital currency, a new technology, it's really difficult. 5 years ago, yeah, it was difficult to use. Now, not so much. This is actually one of the shorter videos inside of the Pro Collection. So this is a 6-minute video and it's 3 minutes of me talking over it. So if you've made an online purchase, if you've used a debit card and you bought something online at a website, you can use Bitcoin. It's really not much different. So watch me do a Bitcoin transaction for you here in this video. And where do I go from here getting started with Bitcoin? So this is where basically like a father to a son or a daughter, I take you by the hand, I walk you through the Bitcoin community, show you where to go, what to do, how to get started using Bitcoin. Also, I've just created a little bit of a partnership here. Andreas Antonopoulos, one of maybe the largest figure inside of the Bitcoin community. He goes around the world. As you can see here, he does seminars. He's paid in Bitcoin to travel around the world to different countries and talk to people, educate them about Bitcoin. This is the Canadian Senate. The Canadian Senate paid him in Bitcoin to go to the Canadian Senate and teach them for 90 minutes about Bitcoin and really making regulations to make Canada Bitcoin friendly. So he is really the primary educator as far as Bitcoin. He has created a couple of books, The Internet of Money, and let me move my picture here, Mastering Bitcoin. Mastering Bitcoin is more for developers. Internet of Money is more for, again, the average individual. But he has approved 45 minutes of content for you to learn more about Bitcoin. So he does a special couple of videos that will help you, again, understand how Bitcoin works. So I want to thank Andreas for approving Bitcoin Video University and the Pro Collection for his special content. So he will help educate you about Bitcoin inside of the Pro Collection. Now, this is just 12 videos. Okay, I've just covered 12 of 42 videos. There's another 30 videos inside of the Pro Collection, and you'll gain lifetime access to all of this content. So I did some market testing, some surveys, and some polls on what the market will bear for a comprehensive online education like the one that the Bitcoin Video University Pro Collection provides. What did I find out? Well, my target market, people most likely to invest in financial education, and retirement assets of a technical nature like digital currency, are 38 to 55-year-olds, white males in the US and the EU. Don't worry if you don't fall into that demographic. Now, they will be willing to pay approximately $500 to $1,000 for a complete online education in a financial investment product like Bitcoin. So this is what the market will bear for a complete training in an investment that makes money year after year like Bitcoin. This makes sense. If you have an investor mentality, you're very sharp, you will be willing to spend a few $100s to learn how to make a few $1,000s year after year. Makes sense, right? $500 to $1,000 to get a full online education in something like Bitcoin. You know what they say, it takes money to make money. Well, maybe, maybe not. I probably will charge this in the future, later on in 2017. Sounds like a fair price to me, but don't worry, I won't ask you for $500 to $1,000 today to learn how to use Bitcoin. Now, I did mention earlier that some people prefer to read the book on a new subject, right? Well, you're in luck because I happen to have written the book on Bitcoin. In fact, I've actually written 4 books on Bitcoin, and you'll get them all as free bonuses when you enter the Pro Collection. Now, how would you like to download your own Bitcoin owner's manual and cheat sheets that you can reference at all times? You get hyperlinks to go to the sites that you need. How would you like these manuals to help you start using Bitcoin fast? Well, I'm presenting to you the Bitcoin Video University Starter Package. This is a group of 4 ebooks that comes free as 4 free bonuses with every admission to the Bitcoin Video University Pro Collection. Now let's begin with the foundation of your Bitcoin training. It's called Bitcoin Bonanza, why you need to get Bitcoin now. Now it answers all of the most popular Bitcoin questions and many questions you wouldn't even know to ask. So get everything you need to start investing in Bitcoin with confidence. Now let's go over some of what's inside of Bitcoin Bonanza. Who made Bitcoin and why? Where does Bitcoin get its value? How is Bitcoin safe and secure? Is Bitcoin anything like the US dollar? How is it better than the US dollar? What really happened at Mt. Gox, the world's largest Bitcoin exchange, which folded in 2014? What Bitcoin businesses can you start right from your own home? The top 10 Bitcoin myths and the truth behind the lies. Did Bitcoin really jump in value over 1,000% in just 6 months? Why some people think that 1 Bitcoin will be worth $1 million someday. And where you can buy Bitcoins for as little as $10 US and much more is inside of Bitcoin Bonanza. So Bitcoin Bonanza will take care of all the nuts and bolts of what you need to know and where you need to go to start using Bitcoin. But are you ready for some true ninja Bitcoin knowledge? Then you need the Bitcoin Encyclopedia. Inside the Bitcoin Encyclopedia, you'll discover 20 ways that Bitcoin is inherently valuable. 5 ways you can bring your business and Bitcoin together. 5 reasons why low Bitcoin prices are great for Bitcoin. And a 10-step checklist to your perfect Bitcoin wallet. When you start with Bitcoin, you will have to create a wallet. But will this wallet be convenient? Will this wallet be secure? Can it be both? So you can go through this checklist, understand what you need to create the right wallet, and then check with your provider, make sure they offer all of these features. So again, create the perfect wallet with this checklist. How people are sending Bitcoin digitally from their hand, not from their phone, from their hand, straight to their computer. 10 exciting benefits of using Bitcoin for new users just like you. How China's currency controls and up and downs in their market can create the next Bitcoin price boom. Why Bitcoin should never, ever be centrally regulated. 5 ways Bitcoins beat dollars or any fiat currency every single day, and a look at the dark web, one of the world's largest Bitcoin economies. All of this and much more is inside of the Bitcoin Encyclopedia. Now you'll also receive Volume 1 of the Bitcoin Bonanza newsletter as a bonus, which covers how Bitcoin has become a global phenomenon. So whether you're in Singapore, South Korea, or Canada, Bitcoin is the world's first global currency. So this newsletter will show you how easy Bitcoins are to use anywhere. Now, inside the newsletter, you'll discover where you can get Bitcoins from new state-of-the-art ATMs around the world. What did the leader of People's Bank of China have to say about Bitcoin? What top online merchants are accepting Bitcoin for payment directly? And links to what our friend, Bitcoin expert Andreas Antonopoulos, said about the future of Bitcoin at the Los Angeles Bitcoin Meetup. And much more is inside of the Bitcoin Bonanza newsletter. Now, maybe you've heard of other digital currencies. Maybe you've heard of Dogecoin, or Litecoin, or Ethereum. These are known as altcoins, or Bitcoin alternative coins. They trade for a fraction of what Bitcoin does, and we'll show you how they work as well. So due to popular demand, we have created a Bitcoin Video University guide for those who basically want to find the next Bitcoin at a 95% discount. So there is one altcoin that just may be the next Bitcoin that you can start with today. So discover this and much more inside of the new altcoin beginner guide, Litecoin and the altcoin army. Who is ready to pass Bitcoin? So if you missed the rare opportunity to get Bitcoin for just a few dollars or a few pennies, like we went over earlier, a few years ago you could buy Bitcoin for a few pennies or a few dollars. The altcoin market may be your last chance to buy powerful digital currencies for next to nothing and make a fortune. So here is an example. This one altcoin, this is 2016, January 1st, this one altcoin was trading for less than $1 US. As you can see, by the spring, it was trading for almost $15. And by the summer, it was trading for almost $20 US. So this is basically, again, altcoins are like penny stocks. You can learn more about each altcoin, which one may be right for you, and which one you may want to bet on in the future will go up in value. This is an example of what you can do in the altcoin market if you know how it works. So this is how this book will help educate you. There's another altcoin with even greater upside potential. One altcoin has already been traded for over $1,000 US. It hasn't even gotten to the exchanges yet. Now the market has adjusted so it doesn't cost $1,000 anymore. But again, this coin has so much potential. This could be the next Bitcoin. So discover this and more inside of Litecoin and the altcoin army. So these 4 books make up your starter package valued at $150 US. Yours free, 4 free bonuses when you get into the Pro collection. Now, that's over $1,150 in value between the videos and the 4 ebooks. But I'm not going to charge you obviously $1,150 either. So I'm going to make a deal with you. This is my plan. Tell me what you think. My goal with Bitcoin Video University is to make a good living doing what I love to do, which is educating people and getting people started with Bitcoin. If I was all about making dollars, I'd still be at the bank making dollars. I'd still be there, but I'd rather be here basically building an educational website. I want to build a valuable, trusted brand inside of the Bitcoin community and help people get started using Bitcoin. People from the mainstream, help them get started. That's what I want to do. So I have to charge enough to weed out those who really aren't serious about Bitcoin. Also, I've spent literally hundreds of man hours over the last 2 years building all this information, writing these books, creating all these videos, taking out all the technical jargon so you can pick it up quickly and easily. So I'm not just going to give away all of my work for free. So in other words, nothing ventured, nothing gained. You have to have some skin in the game. So here's the balancing act that I'm looking to perform here. Now, we're heading into 2017, or in early 2017 right now. I'm feeling good, and I'm not looking to make every last dollar right now. So here's what I'm going to do instead. I'm willing to give you guys some special 2016 pricing for Bitcoin Video University's Pro Collection, starting today. So how does that sound? Now, you'll receive the starter package, which is valued at $150, so you get 4 bonus ebooks free. You'll also receive priority email support. So if you ever have a Bitcoin question, or you have a problem, or you just need some Bitcoin advice, send us an email, and we'll get back to you within 24 hours with the information that you need. This is a $49 value, again, a bonus free when you join the Pro Collection. I'll even award you with an exclusive Bitcoin diploma. You will become a Bachelor of Bitcoin. You'll have an official diploma from Bitcoin Video University. So you can print this out, you can put it on your wall, you can frame it, you will become a Bachelor of Bitcoin. How cool is that? Now let's take a special live tour of Bitcoin Video University so you can see for yourself. All right, so here we are in the Pro Collection. So welcome to Bitcoin Video University. As you can see, 42 videos. What's going to also happen is, as I learn something new that a new user should learn, I'm going to make a video, I'm going to put it in here. So you have lifetime access, so anytime I get new content, just going to add it in here. So I'm not going to rewrite the books, but you'll get some new content. So it's going to be more than 42 videos. Right now it's 42 videos, over 8 hours of content. Here's my email address, bitcoinvideouniversity@email.com. If you have a question or anything, please contact me. And again, here are all of your videos. So comparing US dollar to a Mercedes and Bitcoin is like a Tesla. This is actually my favorite video. I love that video, how that came out. Looking at top 10 Bitcoin myths, a couple of videos on that. The advantages of using Bitcoin over fiat currencies. Money management advice from an old banker. You can get some of my old advice on how to handle finances. More reasons why Bitcoin values must increase in the future. Security of Bitcoin, US dollar versus Bitcoin. Mt. Gox, what happened there? There's 2 videos on that. 3 videos on blockchain technology. Again, the best way to get your hands on Bitcoin. Bitcoin versus gold, Bitcoin versus silver. Businesses you can start, how to use an ATM. Biggest problem with Bitcoin, hardware wallets. Amazon, building a safe wallet. China and India. China and India are going to be huge in Bitcoin in the future. They're huge right now, and I'll go over that in this special video. Doing transactions live, how to get started, beginner's walkthrough, 2 special videos from Andreas Antonopoulos, and a conclusion and wrap up. And here's your downloads. Here's Bitcoin Bonanza. Here's the Bitcoin Encyclopedia. Here's your newsletter and Litecoin and the Altcoin Army. And there is your diploma. So that was the walkthrough through Bitcoin Video University. And everything is guaranteed to satisfy you. So you have a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you don't understand the videos, or you don't get your first Bitcoin, or you're just not picking up on it, if you have a problem, please contact us. We will send you a full refund if you need. So you'll receive all of my Bitcoin industry knowledge, my training, my advice. You can email me. You'll have all the videos. You'll have the 4 ebooks, almost $1,200 in value. And you'll receive a full lifetime membership to Bitcoin Video University for just $297. So that's less than a third of a Bitcoin. So you spend less than a third of a Bitcoin and you'll discover everything about Bitcoin. You'll get the entire Bitcoin for less than a third of Bitcoin. Now that's value. So please click the button below, click the link below, and you'll register now for your 2016 price. Now with this 2016 price, it will last for just the next 60 minutes. So after 60 minutes, the price will go up to its 2017 price of $497. So you can get $1,200 worth of training right now for just $297, save almost $1,000. Now, just like the price of Bitcoin is continuing to go up, Bitcoin Video University prices will definitely go up to its fair market value after the new year in 2017. So take advantage of this 2016 pricing while you still can. So I'm going to save you over $200 on Bitcoin Video University. Is that okay? What do you think? Now, why am I selling a $500 to $1,200 product for just $297? Well, the reason is I need you to do something for me, but it's something small. If I save you over $200 on enrollment in Bitcoin Video University's Pro Collection, will you give me your honest feedback after using it? Just tell me what you think of Bitcoin Video University Pro, what is working, and if it can be improved. Send me a message after you get your first Bitcoin. So I'm easy to find. Obviously, I gave you my email address, bitcoinvideouniversity@email.com. You can Google me, Google Evander Smart. You're definitely going to find me. I have a ton of content. And I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Google+. Very easy to find. So I'll check in with you by email to see how you're doing. And just send me your thoughts about Bitcoin Video University's Pro Collection. Deal? Now, if you can't get into Bitcoin Video University today, you can go to my free website, bitcoinvideouniversity.com, for more free information on Bitcoin, like you received here. Now, if you understood this webinar, you will understand the videos inside of Bitcoin Video University. So it's the same format. If you understood this webinar, you'll understand Bitcoin in just a matter of a few hours. But if you can't get into Bitcoin Video University right now, you can use my free website. But keep this in mind. We're heading into 2017, and this window is closing on Bitcoin and getting in while it's still affordable. So again, we went over, Bitcoin was less than $3, now it's over $900. So when are you going to get started? When it's $2,000? When it's $5,000? Don't say I was there, and I missed out, and I coulda, woulda, shoulda. Don't be that guy. Don't be that girl. Take that first step, get the education and training that you need, and get started. This will remove your learning curve. You'll be able to get started in just a little while. One more thing, if I don't teach you Bitcoin here and now, who will? No one else is walking people through in a step-by-step, easy-to-follow manner how to use Bitcoin in the real world. So don't waste months of your time trying to learn it in the streets like I did. It took me over 6 months to figure out how Bitcoin worked. So, and it's a lot easier now, but it's still pretty difficult if you're new. So I've made all the newbie mistakes, is my point. So you won't have to. Learn from my mistakes, learn from my wisdom. If you step into Bitcoin Video University, if you understood the seminar, in a day or two, you'll have Bitcoin down, and you'll be able to invest in Bitcoin with confidence. So you will love Bitcoin Video University, I guarantee it. So join Bitcoin Video University today. Get your 42 videos, get your 8 hours of training. Just pick the video that you want to start with. Use any of the videos. You have a lifetime membership. Get your starter package. Get your 4 ebooks as bonuses. You can learn about Litecoins. If you want to start off small with small things that cost a few cents or a few dollars. Get your email support. If you have a question, you have a comment, you need some advice, get with me. We'll get back to you in the next day or so. Again, you have the 30-day money-back guarantee, and get your diploma. Become a Bachelor of Bitcoin. So click the link below and get the absolute lowest price on Bitcoin Video University for the next 60 minutes. That price will expire 60 minutes from now. It's based on the cookies in your computer. So don't think it's going to be there, tomorrow or anything like that. Based on the cookies in your computer. So you have 60 minutes to get that special price. So this is a recorded webinar. I'm not available to do all of these webinars free. So I made this so you can get access to it when you need it. So you don't have to wait for it. If you have any questions, please contact me. Send me an email, bitcoinvideouniversity@email.com. So join Bitcoin Video University today. I look forward to seeing you inside of Bitcoin Video University Hall. Take care.